All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order and welcome everyone this evening. Any adjustments to the agenda?
There is one, please.
Which is,
On the new business, 12.3, that will be deleted.
any other adjustments?
No, sir.
Motion to accept the agenda as adjusted.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
You voted to cut your pay in half.
No.
Consideration of regular board meeting minutes, September 13th, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Changes, corrections, omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Consent agenda, 6.1, Finance Committee meetings, September 13th, 6.2, Personnel Committee meetings, September 13th, and 6.3, Buildings, Ground, and Transportation Committee minutes, also on September 13th.
Take it as one.
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
Changes, omissions, or corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any presentations this evening?
No, sir.
Anybody from the public at this time wish to address the board?
I do. I'm French. I am a resident of Searsport and a taxpayer of Searsport. I have 3 sons, one of whom is a Searsport District High School alumni, one is a middle schooler, one is an elementary schooler. I wasn't sure if you were aware or not, but there is referendum question 2, which specifically addresses our main school public education funding K through 12. A yes on 2 vote for question 2 proposes a 3% surcharge tax on household incomes over $200,000. So the first $200,000 is exempt. The tax is on all household income over $200,000. In the first year, by taxing this bracket, which affects about 11,000 people in the state of Maine, it would generate about $157 million for Maine's public school education, K-12 education in Maine. This money would funnel through the Essential Programs and Services funding formula a second round through. And so Searsport actually stands to be a pretty good receiver. We're estimating that it's somewhere in the ballpark of approximately $600,000 if a yes on 2 vote passes. So I want to encourage the board to have some discussion surrounding a position on question 2. If you'd like any information, I'm more than happy to answer questions. You can visit our website, standupforstudentsmaine.org. I also have some cards here that I can give you tonight. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Report from the superintendent.
I do have a few things. First of all, I'd like to give you the enrollment figures as of today, and the state of Maine requires, following up on the EPS, the figures to be done on Saturday. So what we're at right now is at the high school, we have 182 students. That's broken down, 41 in grade 12, 56 in grade 11, 44 in grade 10, and 41 in grade 9. At the middle school, grade 6 through 8, we have 104. Grade 8 is 27. Grade 7 is 36. Grade 6 is 41. Your elementary school, which is K through 5, is 216. The breakdown there is 42 in grade 5, grade 4 is 38, grade 3 is 28, grade 2 is 36, grade 1 is 32, and kindergarten is 40. And then you add in the pre-K, and just from yesterday to today, they went up 3, they're now up to 21 of 4-year-olds. For a total now at RSU 20 as of 9/27 of 523. We have had some students that have either gone to homeschooling or have transferred. We've had some transfer in. Last year, on October 1, we had 529. And the other figure you should have down, I want to give you, is on April 1 of 2016, we had 521. So when they do EPS, they look at the average between the April and the October 1 figure, which would be 522, which is going to be very close to what we had last year. So I wanted to give you those figures. Another report I want to bring to you is the facilities information at the elementary school. If you look out back at the playground, we have removed the old fence and the posts, and we have the company coming in, Newport Fence, which was our lowest bidder of the three. They will replace the fence from the woods up to the, where you come into the soccer and baseball and softball complex, and then from the side of the building down to where the temporary fence is, and that'll start on October 10th. And they will, one of the things we required is there will be a tension wire in the bottom of the fence, along with about a 4-inch gap, so that the weed whackers and things like that can get under there. So that is coming along. I wanted to give you a quick update on negotiations with support staff. We did reconvene on Wednesday, September 21st, and the groups will be meeting again on Thursday, October 20th. The 21st, we had, both sides had their representatives there, and we have agreed to meet again on the 20th. The K through 12 staff and grade schools partnership had their second meeting on September 20th. That was with the math teachers. Science will be meeting on October 20th. Social studies on October 25th. That is a effort that will work in K through 12 and crosswalking standards that will ultimately lead to a proficiency-based diploma. That's going very well, and I want to compliment the three individuals sitting right there because they've been involved in those meetings. And if you want to ask any questions after, they're three good folks to ask. Tomorrow night, we have the policy committee. It starts at 5. We have a long list, but I do want to tell you that some information came in today from Main School Management. Bob is looking at that and would like to have the IGNDB, which is the computer and student internet safety, not brought up tomorrow night, and have a separate, because they're so long. The changes that have come over the last 6 years, we were working on it today before we got the change, and I have tags all over the place, as has, this is just some of the changes that we were looking at. And now we've just got another change that came through today that Main School Management is recommending that we get into our policy because it deals with volunteers and contractors coming in to use our internet, and what we should do and have that in the policy. So this is an ever-changing, as you know, the internet, so we would like to put those three onto a separate policy committee and also do the staff at the same time, which will take up an evening in itself. And if you could look at a date in November for that, people on the policy committee and anybody that would like to be there, and we could meet in November to do that. We can talk about that tomorrow night, but just want to let you know that the computer and the internet will not be on there tomorrow night. We don't want to rush it because it's an important one. A couple other things I wanted to bring up to you. Transportation, sort of a report on transportation. The administration and the transportation director, as well as myself, we've been looking at some of the routes and some of the arrival times and making some slight changes. The reason being is some of our buses were quite crowded, and so we've had to make some adjustments. And the others were looking at the times. One change we made, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it was a 5-minute change of when we left the tech center in the afternoon. And by doing that, it got the bus back, dropped the high school kids off, and then allowed, it was Ron Cook's bus, to get back up in line for the elementary at 2:25, which is when the students for the buses start to come out. That 5-minute change of not being there at 2:30 but 2:25 is just some things that you have to look at. Because if you remember, we've decreased our bus runs and our bus drivers this year. So we're making some changes there. And the other, and you know, I will let you know that I'm the one that did not report it to the board, but that we did, on a mutual assistance, allow RSU 71 to use 3 of our buses while they waited for 2 new ones to come in. Those buses have all been returned, and matter of fact, we had the Common Ground Fair this past Friday, and we were going to have to make some arrangement for a special needs student, and we contacted 71 to ask if they could help us out with this smaller bus, and they were all ready to do that. So we are doing some mutual aid to help each other out. And I will let the board know next time that we have to do that. So if you see a bus with RSU 20 over an RSU 71 or vice versa, you'll know ahead of time so that you can answer any constituents that may want to know. So, and then the very last thing I have under my report is ad drop ended Friday, and I want to give you the numbers and the schedule, and would ask the chair if we could make this a point of discussion under old business for our next board meeting, so that you can have an opportunity to look at this, both the high school and the middle school. I would have had it to you early, but we had some changes, and Carol wanted to wait until we actually had the ad drop period completed. And that is my report. A lot's been going on.
Just a quick question on enrollment numbers. Are they still operating 2 pre-Ks with the low number?
Yes.
Yes.
So
They have some 3-year-olds in there.
2 classrooms over at the,
Stockton Springs Elementary School.
okay.
So we do not get anything for 3-year-olds?
No, we do not.
Question on the, brought to my attention that Mr. Gilway was over at the Stockton Springs talking to the selectmen and indicated that there are 4 empty classrooms here in our district.
At the middle school, high school.
Middle school, high
Complex, yeah.
school, okay. And we're using 2 classrooms over at the elementary school in Stockton, okay, for the pre-K.
Mhm.
Could they be moved over to,
Well, that's one of the things that we're doing for, not this year. I would not recommend it for this year, because we don't have the buildings ready for the little ones. But that's our plan for next year. We're taking those students out and redoing the complex over there. That was a question, Bill, that was asked at the magnet school about rooms that are open. And I said that any movement of classrooms requires board approval.
Also, if I might add that by law, we cannot remove all the students from the building until it's officially closed by vote of the taxpayers. And go through that whole process. We can't take every last student out of Stockton Springs.
Right.
We have to go through a bunch of steps first.
and pre-K counts as district,
Yes, sir.
20 students.
Mhm.
So when will we begin that process?
The process, it was right in this room, and there was what, 8? I'm trying to think last year, what month we were in here.
March.
Was it March?
February or March.
Okay. that was the plan,
Yeah.
that we will, next year, September of 2018, or 17, we will have those pre-K students in our building
Right.
over at the,
Mhm.
for lack of a better term, the complex of the elementary, middle, and high school.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, we had already discussed that, and due to the playground and the,
Right, we've worked with the playground, we've got that information, we've worked getting our playground out back to elementary school ready. We've had the building and grounds committee meet, to talk about the entrance into the
Mhm.
area,
Yep.
because we're gonna have younger kids coming in there, more traffic. We're talking with the kitchen, figuring out the kitchen rotation, a lot of
Mhm.
little details we're working on, so that when we make the transition in the fall of next year, hopefully it'll be seamless when we do it. And we have the magnet school that has approached RSU 20 about classrooms at the high school, and also has asked about Stockton Springs School as well.
And also, Denise, were you asking about the vote and about the process with the state for closing the school? Is that-
Yes.
Yes. Late October, early November.
I thought it was this fall that we
Yeah.
will begin the process.
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Quick question there, and I may have misheard you, but, and this may be, I'm not holding you to this, but if part of the logistics involved in coordinating this long-term involve moving some of the kids that are in the elementary school down into the middle school wing, is that part of the discussion in order to make this work?
And you said you won't hold me to it?
I won't hold you to it, but where I'm going, you don't even have to answer that.
No, I'll answer it.
Okay,
You know me, I'm gonna answer it.
good.
Philosophically, I have a very difficult time talking about moving any elementary students, and I consider those your fifth graders, down into a building where you have the potential of them coming in contact with high school students. Not that I don't trust high school students, because I've been with them for almost 40 years, and I know what they're like, and they're good kids. But it's just that they're so young, the fifth graders, to be put down into that type of environment. We will do it within the elementary school, and that's something Larry and I have been working on. And hopefully we will be looking at utilization of the middle school, high school in a way that those rooms will be occupied. But I do have a definite philosophical concern when you're talking elementary kids with middle and high school.
Noted, and I'll just go on record saying I agree with you, and my reason for asking this question is that if that for some reason was some sort of logistical requirement, I think it would also be paramount that we're starting to socialize that with our parents of those potential fifth graders moving into that scenario as soon as possible. I think that's something we've talked about at length in the past, even when we discussed it as a possibility, not necessarily a plausibility. Thank you.
I have one more question. When you talk about the extra rooms and stuff, are we making arrangements for the alternative
That is another.
students as well?
That is another branch of discussion that we will have to have,
Mhm.
because, as you know, we do not have an alternative school in which we can send our kids to. And, you know, when, again, I'm gonna get into my philosophical area of education, you know, alternative kids are not always students that have low grades and have discipline issues and attendance issues. Sometimes you've seen some of your other kids, due to living on their own. I can remember making a statement back almost 15 years ago, asking a kid, "What do you have in your backpack?" It was so big. He was basically living out of it.
I
He
agree.
went to an alternative school, went to college, and now is a very successful businessman down the Waterville area. So, you know, we need to consider that as well, and that is an alternative that right now is probably at the grassroots level in our district,
Mhm.
because we are at that point where we no longer have the option of using what a lot of people remember as B code.
Right.
It's still there, but it is for RSU 71. And to put an RSU 20 student over there, it would require a tuition agreement, which carries a price tag with it.
I can go back to enrollments. Is it possible to get last year's enrollments put on a spreadsheet? If you give me the 4 or the last 2 or 3 years, if you get it to me, I'll gladly put it on a spreadsheet, because I know everyone's busy. But get the information to me and I will be glad to do that.
I guess my concern with the enrollment,
Last 3 years?
Whatever you give me.
Okay.
is our numbers the same, but it seems like we've gained a little in the middle school, high school, elementary school, but our pre-K number is drastically reduced, which I guess my question there is it just that parents have decided not to send their children to pre-K, or is this the future of the enrollment numbers that we're gonna be faced with dropping enrollment? You know, we've always talked about 2 classrooms, you know, needing 2 classrooms because we've got a pre-K of 39 to 40 kids. But, I mean, if 2021 is gonna become the new norm, I mean, that's, I guess, where we need to figure out if it's worth it or not, because I just figured roughly, we figured 38 to 40 kids when we was working on the budget for revenue, and we're minus 16, which is about $108,000 less than what we predicted, which means we now aren't breaking even in the Stockton Springs Elementary School, we're actually in the red. So I don't know if anybody can shed light on what's going on with pre-K.
Tony, one of the things we have to do for the closing of the school is look at birth rates and predict enrollment.
Also, I mean, I think it's worth mentioning that
That is what we have to start.
there's several options for childcare now within the Searsport Belfast area. I can think of 3 of my peers in particular that rather than bringing their kids to pre-K are bringing them to other places. So I think the real test of that, it's certainly a good point, but the real test of that is how many end up in actual kindergarten. So the only question I had is how many were 4-year-olds? I know we talked about that before. How many are 4-year-olds? How many are 3-year-olds?
Right now?
Yeah.
There's 21 4-year-olds.
So of the 21, they're all
That's
4-year-olds?
right, because that's the only count that I can,
Okay,
that
all
I
right.
can use.
Gotcha, that's
So there could be more up there,
correct.
you
Well,
just,
that's what I'm asking.
we only,
We have more 3-year-olds in the building itself.
that's what I'm asking.
Yes.
So can we get those numbers too? I mean, we don't make money on,
So who transports the 3-year-olds?
They have to be transported themselves.
I was gonna say, because
We're not,
we're not
allowed
equipped
to
for-
transport
right,
3-year-olds.
Exactly.
I'm just curious to, how many kids we actually have up there? To see if the 40 is
Yeah,
what
we'll
we
get
were
that number for
actually
you.
projected.
And we also find the birth rates, because that's one of the things you look at.
We need a couple more ice storms.
He turned all the money with that.
What's that mean?
All right.
Well, if you wanna go through, let's look at the sophomore class of 56,
Yeah.
or is that the junior class?
Junior.
Let me put my glasses on.
Held back a few years,
Junior class is 56.
Mhm.
It was the ice
which is
storm.
one of the largest classes I can remember, and, I mean, in '88 it was 47.
Mine had 50 plus.
You had 50 plus? What year was that?
Thanks. 6.
What was it?
It's 9, I'm sure. You heard me, write it down. Here it is, right here.
And we have very low 27 and 28.
84.
Yeah, sure.
You know, I know things can change, but if you take a look at the 6th, 7th, 8th, and put the 5th grade in there, and eventually that's gonna be the high school and you're looking at under 150 if I've added correctly, which I probably haven't, but,
At the same time,
And to add to that, I will say that this year our numbers as far as transferring in are up versus transferring out. So we have people moving in and less moving out. So that's always a nice as well.
It's because there's a lot of inexpensive homes for sale.
Mhm.
So, yeah, in the course of, you're right, if you take I'm going even further, if you take the third, fourth, fifth, and the current sixth grade, you're at 148 this year.
Yeah,
Anyone else? Committee reports, thank you, Chris. There's nothing here, but I know there was a tech committee meeting last week, was it?
Yes.
Tech center, yes.
Mhm.
Any news there?
Yeah, yes, I have a whole packet back at home where I took notes and I forgot to bring it.
Chris has,
I would like to add one thing, it's not from that board meeting, but probably most of you know by now, but if you don't, I know that goes out on the internet and that. The tech center had some sad news this week, and that is that, you know, a good friend of a lot of people in this room, we lost Tanya Hubbard to her battle with cancer. Tanya was a lifelong educator who I had the privilege of not only bringing to the tech center to do literacy, but also taught with her at Mount View and actually taught across the hallway from her. And so, you know, when you lose a veteran of 40 years of education who really never had the opportunity to retire, but that's the education. I think a lot of things that people don't know about Tanya is that the things she did for her community. And one of them was raising money for heating. How she would, you know, beat the bushes to get money to take care of people's heating bills and things of that nature. So, you know, I just want to go on record for our board and for RSU 20 and, you know, say that we'll remember Tanya and all the stuff that she stood for. She was a great person. Still hear that laugh. Or gackle, what do you call it?
Tony, I'll bring
yeah,
next meeting.
okay, no problem.
Didn't they have a survey? Didn't
I
they?
believe you should have all received some sort of survey via email.
I did. That's why I'm saying, there was a survey that came out.
I didn't look today, but I haven't received anything
It
yet.
would have been,
Okay.
it would have been yesterday or the day before that we received a survey from the Vogue School.
Oh, yeah, okay. I got it.
And you've already talked about negotiations, policy committee meets tomorrow.
Yes.
Buildings, grounds, transportation haven't met, dropout prevention, curriculum steering, we're all set.
Mm-hmm.
We have
Didn't you
no,
have a player of the week too? Didn't one of your students get player of the week too? Barrett Grant, wasn't he nominated?
I don't know.
It's in the paper.
oh, I don't buy the paper anymore.
It was, it
I've been
wasn't,
working so much, I can see.
I believe that we have one soccer player that was named player of the week. I believe it's Barrett Grant.
Oh.
Congratulations.
And I think it's under like the, I'll forward that email to you. Hmm?
Moving on to new business, consideration approval of the revised 2014-15 RSU 20 audit.
I'll turn to Ms. Blanchard with the information because the auditors are at the central office this week.
Yep, they are. So I sent you all copies of the pages that change with the numbers highlighted. And when I looked at all of them, I had a panic moment and I asked the auditor if he could attend the meeting tonight, and he was going to, but he ran into a conflict. But essentially, he gave me some very basic notes, which is that the audit has changed because there were some adjustments to federal grants, which netted an additional $21,575 fund balance to the district. And that's the change that needs to just be accepted so that he can print new
What was
ones
that
up.
number again?
$21,575
To the good.
to the good.
Any change?
He didn't give me, he never gives me,
Okay.
never gives me pennies. He always talks around numbers.
Just want to make sure.
I'll make that form of a motion to accept it.
So moved. Second.
Second.
Discussion?
Are you sure we should accept it? No.
Stop already.
Well, this is a no-brainer, but all those in favor of accepting $21,575 and no change?
And possibly
Unanimous?
change.
And possibly change, thank you. 12.2, consideration approval of an increase in pay for the Title I coordinator position to $11,500.
That was a mistake on my part, last board meeting, is I was trying to pull that number out of the air. Went back and checked, and it actually, it went from 95 to 11.5 per the grant requirements application. It is no money from local funds, it is all through the grant, the Title I grant.
Motion,
So moved.
Second.
discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. 12.4, election of delegate and alternate to Maine School Management Conference, October 27th and the 28th.
That is the delegate assembly. You should have received that in your packet. It's a voting member where they vote on bylaws and constitutional changes and resolutions. Every district in the state has a member from their board that is a voting member. We need a board member to be such, and we always elect an alternate as well. And usually it's those that would like to go to the conference, which is a 2-day conference that has lots of, I call them free law seminars and other information that school boards and superintendents can attain. And I know last year that Bill and Percy went and picked up a lot of information from it. So, you know, we're requesting the delegates, but also those that would like to go to the conference, that we will make sure we get your name and badges, and you can join me there, because I'll be there.
I'm out of town on the 28th.
I'm also out of town on the 28th.
I'm also out of town.
I'm
Yeah,
not
Sue.
available on the 27th.
I'm out of town both.
This doesn't bode well.
I'll
So-
do some check-in.
I can be there the 27th, but I've got a 6 a.m. flight on the 28th.
You could do the 28th, Tony, if he could do the 27th.
When are the delegates, the 27th or the 28th?
27th.
You going on the 27th?
I'll be there the 27th.
You can pencil me for the 28th, but
Okay.
I
If
need
not, I'll check and see
to
if,
have my chickens.
I'll check if you can't.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
So Bill would attend the conference and the delegate on the 27th, you would attend the conference on the 28th. Okay.
You said was gonna be voting, what are we gonna be voting on?
They will send you the resolutions, and if there's any bylaw changes to the Maine School Board Association.
Okay.
You'll have all that information ahead of time.
All right.
Thank you.
We're gonna need these tomorrow night, aren't we?
The policies, yes.
Can we put them back in here?
Anything else?
I have nothing else.
Anyone? Date and time, next location, next meeting.
You noted?
Finance will be 5 o'clock. Board meeting 6:30, they're in Searsport, October 11th. Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
Second.
all those in favor? Making out the
Your notice came out tonight too.